Buenos dias, everybody. Welcome to the Syndicate, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Ronan Chain, and it is Saturday, the big beat all day of D23 Expo news, and we've gotten a lot of Star Wars news. And I could do this by myself, but I hate doing that. And there's been someone who I've been watching, admiring, and wanting to hear their 2 cents whenever it comes to Star Wars related stuff. And I figured, let me try. It doesn't hurt to ask, and hopefully I don't get blocked or whatnot. And right here, the Laura Kelly was gracious enough to be like, you know what, I'll geek out with this one dude or whatnot. And I am so honored to have her in this podcast. I am not worthy of her 2 cents and her presence here. So Laura, thank you for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I am happy to be here. And no, I don't block people that are like, come on my show. And not intentionally anyway. I'm like, if I've blocked you in the past because you were weird, I have no control over that. Like, yeah. But no, you were not in that camp. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. The force is strong with us. So yes, like I said, D23 Expo has just concluded its second day, I believe, and it was the big Kahuna day. And we'll just talk Star Wars stuff because we love the galaxy far, far away. And we're gonna do first, I believe, Andor. Andor is about a week and a half away, with 3 episodes dropping at the same time. And they gave us a final trailer, which I knew that was about to happen. And I'll be honest to the folks out there, I didn't see it. What? Why would it? The reason why is because A, I'm already hooked. B, I don't want to see more than I've already seen. And C, I can hold my breath. I can hold my eagerness to dive into the espionage side of Star Wars for a couple more days. Other stuff, not so much, but this one was worth for me worth waiting on, and just being anxious to see Diego Luna shine on the silver screen with Genevieve O'Reilly and see what those two are going to cook up with the show. But Laura, did you happen to see the trailer, or what are your thoughts with the upcoming few days of Andor arriving?
I did watch it. I think I watched it a few times in trying to sort of figure out, and hopefully this doesn't spoil anything for you, but
Please.
I don't think there was a ton of new content from the trailers that we've gotten already, the first two. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff added to this one. Like there were maybe like a handful of new shots, and a lot of stuff was maybe kind of ordered differently, but for the most part, it gave off the very same look and feel we've seen so far, and a lot of the same footage was shown that's already been shown in other trailers. Now, out of curiosity, did you watch that 9-minute clip that dropped on Disney Plus earlier this week?
Even that, we're not even gonna go see the exclusive footage at the theaters, which I would have loved to have seen Rogue One, but it's one of those things that the mood is right up my alley, and
yeah,
I live in a society, at least it's for me, where I've been conditioned that now I'm such a cinephile that I would want magazines to read on stuff, and yet when I get to points like, oh, I would have loved to not known about that. Like for example, the oh my gosh, Forrest Whitaker. I am such a horrendous Star Wars fan right now. I'm forgetting his his name.
Saw Gerrera.
Saw Gerrera. I figured it was plausible that he would be in the show, but seeing the footage, I'm like, oh well, there's the moment. But yeah, I have not seen the footage. How you're probably more caught up on that than I am. What's the vibe going forward these upcoming weeks with what we've been getting?
You know, with what I really am kind of happy with what we've gotten, actually, because Star Wars has this pattern, with their shows that have been streaming on Disney Plus, where they kind of in their trailers only show us footage from like the first 3 episodes, so we really only get like the vibe of what's happening in the sort of setup and laying the foundation. And we know that there were like 4 different directors, I think, that worked on this first season. That basically means that we only got to see like one director's vision for the most part, because they directed in blocks of 3. So if we're only seeing the first 3, we're only seeing one director. I don't know if we know exactly who that's going to be yet. I know that we have a list of like who the 4 directors are, but I don't know if we know who did what order. So that'll be interesting to see if like what we haven't seen yet kind of still stays in the same vein, or if it's going to have like a very different look and feel as a different director steps in, sort of puts their spin on things. I'll be really curious to see that. I have a feeling it's not going to be that. Like we've got Tony Gilroy sort of hanging over the whole thing, making sure that everything's staying on point, and we know that he's very good at that when that's part of his job, because he did a really good job of it with Rogue One. So I have full faith in him that this is going to be an amazing journey, an amazing like spy thriller. We know that he's going to be bringing that like Bourne trilogy tension to this series. I know that Kathleen Kennedy mentioned that in her sort of opening. And she really, like, if they hadn't said anything about this in the entirety of D23, I would have been totally fine, because I'm on board. I'm hooked. I'm ready for it. I'm still going to watch the trailers and the clips and like that. I'll go back and watch that thing on Disney Plus again, probably. It's not really 9 minutes of footage. Like there's little splices of like talking head interviews spliced in. And I think there's some trailer footage we've already seen in there. It's not like a full 9-minute clip. But yeah, I'm on board with Andor. I'm very excited. I have a feeling this is going to be a very well-received show. I think people are very excited to sort of step out of the volume and stop feeling so like claustrophobic on these sets and actually be out in the open and filming outside and things. I think that that's going to probably do wonders for this show and how it's received.
I could not have said that better. I mean, to me, I always was intrigued with this show when they announced it, and it was Celebration when they put that 2-minute teaser, whatever it was, and it felt like All the President's Men. It felt like 3 Days Off the Condor. It felt like just stuff that's right up my alley. And I'm like, yes, lean into the darker side that we've seen in Clone Wars when it comes to politics and just what it means to play both sides. And like World War II, Nazi-occupied espionage films. Oh, I can't wait. But yes, 12 episodes will be dropping this season, and we shall see. And I'll do my best to cover it on my channel. And let's see what they got up their sleeves. But speaking of espionage, battle, combat, all that stuff, The Bad Batch season 2, which I love the first season. It sort of visually captured what was the perfection, in my opinion, of what season 7 did of Clone Wars, and just took it up a notch. Stuff with like dirt. There's a moment with Omega with lifting dirt, and I'm like, that is awesome as hell. But they finally gave us an official release date, which, knock on wood, that's going to stay that way. It's next year. It's not this year, which a lot of us thought it was going to be this year, which even I was like, it's going to be way clustered to do Andor, Bad Batch, and then another thing we'll talk about, Tales of Jedi. And I was like, how is that going to play out? And it was on the map for Disney Plus, and then it wasn't. But we did get the confirmation for next year, the first week of the new year. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm annoyed, but I'm unsurprised that the date's been pushed yet again. Yeah. I was really not looking forward to having to like simultaneously cover and recap and write about Andor and Bad Batch. I'm like, I would prefer to be able to like put my full energy into one of those things and not have to do both at the same time. But I'm sort of relieved that that's not the case. However, I'm a little bit worried now that like Bad Batch is going to be overlapping with Mandalorian season 3, because we didn't get an exact date for that. That would just said 2023. I'm hoping early 2023. But then again, yeah, that means overlap with Bad Batch, which that just puts us right back in the same boat of having to cover 2 Star Wars shows simultaneously, which is a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I would prefer that they space those things out so I can kind of have a constant stream of Star Wars content and not have a whole bunch of it packed into the very beginning of the year. Now, granted, it's January. A lot of us are probably going to be spending a lot of time inside if we're in cold parts of the country. Right. I'm in that boat, so it's not like I've got other stuff I'm going to be doing in January. It'll be a lot of TV time, so I'm ready. But yeah. I'm very excited. Now, did you go to the Bad Batch panel at Celebration?
Did I go to that panel? I was supposed to, and then it wouldn't work out. I mean, that's a whole other. That's a podcast of itself of that experience. But I didn't. But I may or may not have seen some of the footage that they showed us, because they did release a trailer for the public. But there's stuff that they didn't release that I saw, and I went, holy shoo, what does that mean? And you know what? I think we should bring it up just get out of the way, just see what we both think of, because I haven't heard your thoughts about it. For those who don't want to know, I will put a big spoilers right here. Possibly, I mean, it's logical and plausible that this would happen. But if you don't want to know, I'll do this, and then once we're done, I'll say we're not talking spoilers potentially. You were there, right, Laura?
I was, yes.
So I saw a clip that wasn't in the public trailer that said someone saying Crosshair, and then Crosshair going, Commander Cody, and I flipped the F out. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're finally acknowledging him. It's not just Rex anymore, although I love Rex. What does this mean? And they haven't, no one's talked about it. I don't think D. Bradley Baker's talked about it more than what has already been said in the panels, but that's what, because I love the Bad Batch, but that element was what I've been waiting to see what they'll do since Revenge of the Sith, because they touch on it in season 7 of Clone Wars, but that's it. Then it goes to Utapau, and that's about it. But what do you think about that, Laura? Because I haven't heard your thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I'm excited for Commander Cody. I'm excited about the prospect that Omega is going to be older as well.
Yes.
There's a lot of things I'm pumped about with the Bad Batch season 2. Being at that panel got me even more excited for it. And I love that we got, did we? I forget now. I mean, I'm getting everything confused. Did we get a trailer today? We did get a trailer for Bad Batch today again, right?
Did we? I have not seen. I've been
maybe not,
it, and I've not seen nothing out of it.
There were too many things that dropped today, so I must be wrong. But I'm really excited because I think that they're kind of. I think what they're sort of shooting for, if I remember the footage that was shown at that panel, is that we're going to sort of dig in, I think, a little bit more with the clones emotionally in sort of what state that they're in right now, where they're really asking themselves, like, do we have a future in this empire as it's continuing to grow and rise up and take more power in the galaxy? And if so, like, what is that role? And are we really fighting for the greater good here? Because, they were so confident when they were fighting for the Republic that they were on the right side. And now I think they're, especially with Cody, we're starting to really question that. And I'll be really curious with him to see, does Kenobi come up in conversation at some point? I think people were really interested to see Cody potentially show up in the Kenobi show, and we didn't get that. So at the very least, will he maybe just get a name drop of maybe Cody just questioning, like, oh crap, like that was probably not the right thing to do now that I'm seeing how this has played out over the last X number of years.
Yeah. So I just double checking now. No trailers dropped. If it did, it would have been trending. But all we know is that it'll drop January 4th with 2 episode premiere.
Yes.
Which I mean, I saw that kid Wookiee from, I'm assuming it's the same one from that Jedi the Padawan episode from Clone Wars. I'm like, oh my god. But yes, and the fact that at one point or another, maybe Omega might be in the same area as Emperor Palpatine. That was teasing the trailer, and
that's right.
I'm really curious whether this Bad Batch will be one of the earliest, if not the earliest, Rebel cell. Because that's the one thing from Rebels that will connect later that blew my mind, was like, they're cells that don't know about each other, and you see how Hunter really wants to do some good, and we're bound to get Rex teaming up with the boys again. So I same with you. I'm intrigued to see what Omega's evolution now is going to be. That now is like, all right, Kamino's gone. It's gone. You're home they used to be at. Now you want to be in the open. This is what being in the open in the galaxy comes with. So so official release date hopefully stays that way, and hopefully Lucasfilm can space out these shows respectively, because I don't want it to fall back where it's like a movie every year, and it takes off sort of the event flavor when it comes to visiting this galaxy far, far away.
Exactly.
Skeleton Crew. This was announced at Celebration. It's supposed to be a kid show, but not a kid show, and it's starring Jude Law, and it has John Watts, who's the director of the Spider-Man New Homecoming trilogy. And there's not much coming out of it, except we just got a still, and it's Jude Law with the kids behind him, and you see these I forgot the names of it, but there's sort of the eyeball door handles that you would see in Jabba's palace, and that we did see in Mandalorian season 1, looking at him. So, and it takes place during the New Republic era. So I'm very, again, intrigued to see how's that going to play out. Do you have any thoughts on that? And just being like, all right, that's a new show we're getting down the line.
Well, the New Republic era is a very long period of time, as far as we know. So that doesn't tell us a whole lot in terms of like where it's set in time. And you're right, just that one still image that we got really doesn't tell us a whole lot about what Jude Law is doing and who the people are, who the young kids are behind him, what the relationship is there. But yeah, they have tried to, I think, make it very clear this is a show about kids. It is not a children's show, which is encouraging to me because I kind of like this sort of like darker, sometimes more adult direction that we're going with Star Wars. And I am not super interested in watching a show about precocious children. So I'm very excited about this prospect of seeing Jude Law in a galaxy far, far away. That man has been very lucky in that he just gets to hop to whatever franchise he seems to want to go to. So I hope that he's as big a nerd as I think he is, because if he is, that means he's a very happy working actor at the moment. But the still looks great. I love a man in a scarf, and he's rocking that green scarf look. He's got sort of almost like a Cassian Andor rebel-ish sort of vibe to his outfit. So maybe that's something that we're sort of like, I'm like, New Republic era. I'm like, okay, so is like Leia gonna be around? Is maybe this an early Resistance type of setup that we're working with here? I'm really curious. I kind of like that they're keeping it all under wraps. It would be nice if we could get a Star Wars show that is not constantly leaking every single thing. That seems to have been a pretty common trend these last couple of years. Just like if they could just keep something under wraps and just surprise us with something, that would be really great. Like the way that they did with Grogu. I mean, the fact that never leaked out is like absolutely miraculous. So I'll be curious to see where it goes, but I think it looks great just from the very little that we've seen and heard. What were your thoughts on it?
You said it best. That's all that I'm not anxious, but I'm intrigued by it. The New Republic era is something that is, besides the High Republic, it's something that intrigues me because that's sort of what I kind of wanted as a kid. Once I finished Return of the Jedi, I'm like, okay, what happens after we blew up the second Death Star? What happens to the galaxy around us? Which, to give credit where credit's due, is what the comics have been doing greatly. Whether it be Shattered Empire or the Crimson Reign, they have been doing a really good job of saying, okay, we won, but what does that mean after you win a revolution? And then we know what's going to happen in 30 years, right after Jedi. So what does that mean for kids? What does that mean for men and women, non-binary creatures, and just style? So I'm very intrigued with that era. And yeah, once there's more news, more casting, more images, or a trailer or a teaser, then it's when I'll get into the meat of it all. But that's something that they brought up in D23. Something that I was sort of like a underground, I'm gonna not put it that way, but just something that only if you were in the room, then you know how big of a deal this might be or will be, which was Tales of the Jedi, which I wasn't there at Celebration for that. But again, when we said about leaked stuff, some of the footage came out, and I said, what is this? And the fact that Dave Filoni came up with this idea during airplanes, and he wrote down storylines on a napkin, that's, as someone who wants to be creative in the industry, that's right up my alley. And then hear that, well, I'll let you do the honors. This is a short series, 6 episodes. And what characters do they involve, Laura?
So this is going to be 3 episodes centered around Ahsoka Tano and 3 episodes centered on Count Dooku in some of his younger years, it looks like. Now the first Ahsoka Tano episode is what was shown at the Tales of the Jedi panel at Star Wars Celebration. So I saw that. If I recall, it was about 10 minutes long, I think. So if they all sort of follow that sort of pattern, you could squeeze this whole series in under an hour or so. I think some of the controversy that's come out recently about the show has made it even more interesting and intriguing to me, because there was an audio drama, an audio original called Dooku Jedi Lost that was very good and very much dived into. It kind of went through like Dooku's entire sort of childhood, starting when he was like a Jedi initiate, all the way up until like when he left the Jedi, or and even beyond that, actually. So it was really good. It came out, I don't know, that was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, and then there was, I think, some rumors that were circulating recently that some of that content in Dooku Jedi Lost is going to be retconned, at least it seems, in a way,
Oh boy.
by this new show. And so naturally, some people were not happy about that. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if any of that actually has any, like, if there's
Ground.
any stock, yeah, to put into that. But I think when it comes to like that kind of stuff in Star Wars and sort of starting to like come around a little bit and try to like think of it in a different way, like, and not be so rigid in like my interpretation of the canon. I've been trying to sort of rethink about Star Wars in a way where it's like, this is a historical timeline and you've got different people telling the tale of what happened along this timeline, and some people are going to tell it differently. Um, and if you're looking at it like you look at real history, like things are going to get, they're not going to get communicated the same way.
Oh
So
yeah.
I've been trying to like kind of come around on that and just not be so rigid in my interpretation of the canon. Because when I was doing Star Wars trivia stuff, I really kind of had to keep that I had to keep
In
things
mind.
that way
Yeah.
in my mind. And now that that's all kind of done, it seems like it can be a little bit, I'm trying to let some of that go. So if that happens to be the case, I'm hoping that it's not too much of a change, or that it's, I don't, it's hard to say, because I really liked Dooku Jedi Lost. I think that was like our first audio original that was written. I love the author who wrote it. Kevin Scott is an incredible author in Star Wars. Every single thing he's ever written has been very good. So I really kind of hope that they don't go that direction of retconning things, but if not, I'm going to try and be open-minded.
Same. I'll have to read that up, but yeah, the notion that Kanan Jarrus, the way his master went down, the way he survived, isn't there's two different ways if you look at it, and then same thing with the Ahsoka Maul fight. Well, in the novel, it said it went dot 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 dot, and then the animator said it went dot 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 dot. Personally, as someone who's read the novel of Ahsoka and seen the Clone Wars Siege of Mandalore, I prefer the Siege of Mandalore route, but I do get people being like, "Well, what is it?" People they told us that everything was interconnected, and now it's a meta thing where it's like from a certain point of view, you can go this way or that way. So hopefully people who are fans of that doesn't step on anybody's toes to go down that route. But I have to admit that it's coming out on October 26th. From what I heard, that they're all going to drop on that one day. So that'll be
Yes.
intrigued to see if people consume that. They showed us they showed us Padme's funeral.
Yes.
And there's a shot, if you're a geek like us, a frame shot, a stock frame of Ahsoka looking down in a place of gathering. It looks very much like Padme's funeral. And if that's the case, I am gonna bawl my eyes out, because that is so tragic that a friend of hers, who I don't know if she knows the context, that maybe her master killed her, and she's attending the funeral in secret. She can't be in the open, the public. That is heartbreaking. Did you spot that or no?
I did. I think that's how they opened the trailer that was released today. And I'm like,
Yeah.
my God, what a gut punch. Like, what a way to to introduce this. So I will be curious to see how that plays out. I think I saw a tweet, and unfortunately I don't remember exactly who said it, but I thought I saw somebody say something about how they wondered if maybe Ahsoka was there looking for Anakin to see if he survived Order 66. And I was like, oh man, a way to like make that even sadder. Like, well done, you guys.
That is bleak as hell.
Yep.
Let's see what else. Yaddle, I think I spotted.
Yes.
The
Yes.
dark side figure that tells Ahsoka, "And who might you be?" That in the description it says Inquisitor, which intrigues me, because I'm like, wait a minute. Does that mean there were Inquisitors before Empire Day, or is this the first ever Inquisitor to come out of the Empire, or what's going to happen with that? So I'm very intrigued to see that. Janina Gavankar is going to play Pav T, I believe Ahsoka's mom, who she was from Inferno Squad in Battlefront 2 as Iden Versio, if my memory is right.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, again, the animation looks incredible. Matt Lanter, Ashley's back, D. Bradley Baker's back, Corey Burton is back as Count Dooku, and I'm like, all right, for this one, since we're already a month away, don't show us anymore. Don't show us anymore. If they're that
Yeah.
short, just keep it in the dark and just let us see what comes out of it. And if it foreshadows stuff to come and maybe Ahsoka show, which if we transition to it right now, again, no official trailer was released to the public. I'm jealous of you because you saw that footage, and when I bumped into you so many times over there, I was just kept telling you, tell me exactly what you saw because I've only seen a frame, and it's of Hera's back, and I flipped the f out. And but the only thing that we did see that come out of D23 that I know of is another angle of the shot of Sabine Wren looking at her portrait mural painting that is from, and you have the book, but that is from the ending of Rebels. Like she's just looking at
Yeah.
it, and that broke my heart because I'm like,
Yep.
I lived that moment. I lived that moment to see that play out. How excited are you for this, Laura Kelly? How excited are you for Ahsoka show?
I'm like really excited for Ahsoka because I am really excited to see Hera in live action, and I know that we don't know who's playing her yet, and I really wish that they would tell us because I've said this before, but I'm like I kind of need to like I need to like time to brainwash myself into being okay with this person
Yeah,
playing live action Hera Syndulla. That's really the thing I'm most excited about. Like I'm very excited about the casting announcement of Ezra Bridger. I loved Star Wars Rebels, and as much as I loved it, Ezra was never really the character for me. He wasn't a character I related to. I kind of found him to be like an annoying shit for the most part. And the fact that we are going to then now push that character into adulthood, I think is going to make him a lot more tolerable to me. So
I get that. Yeah,
I'm very excited about that. But yeah, to see Hera live in live action on screen. I mean, if you've seen any of the leaked footage from Star Wars Celebration and you hear somebody like if you hear that high pitched scream, there's a good chance that what you're hearing is me. Like, and that when you see Hera from behind, like I'm like, I am the one who broke somebody's eardrum. I'm sure. Like the poor dude that was sitting next to me had no idea what he was getting into when he sat down at that panel, and I am so sorry. But that was what really that was the thing for me that came out of Celebration, and I so desperately wish that they would show that footage to
yeah.
the public so that I don't have to like sit here in secret and watch it like the old pirated clips on my phone that
Version,
people
yeah,
DM'd me. Yeah, I'm just like, I would like to be able to watch like a real thing. And somebody,
yeah.
the other part of that for me though is that like somebody had to work really hard, like for very quickly to put that footage together in a way that we would be able to see it at Star Wars Celebration. I think they had only been shooting for like 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks or
Yes,
something when we
yeah.
got that footage. I'm like, I don't know how somebody managed to do that, and bravo to whoever that person is who will probably remain nameless forever. But I'm just like, give them like a little
Credit.
something, like throw them a
Yeah,
bone and like
yeah.
put that footage out there so other people can see it too.
Uh, People have been saying it. John has been saying it. John Favreau that this is Dave's magnum opus. As someone who didn't watch Rebels on a weekly basis, I had to wait for the Blu-rays to release and hope I didn't get spoiled and stuff. Rebels is hit homes for me. I'm calling it right now. We've been hearing that Mandalorian is like Clint Eastwood's Dollar Trilogy or Sergio only meets Kira Kurosawa and whatnot. I am I am willing to bet that I think a big inspiration for this series will be The Searchers, John Ford's The Searchers. And if any of you've seen that film, you know what I mean. It's all about finding someone, a lost child, and I think that's up this universe alley. I mean, George Lucas has said so much that that movie was a big inspiration for him, and yeah, the fact that there was that one sketch that Filoni drew a while back of Ahsoka and Sabine on a snow mountain walking together. He's like, "This is not an announcement, just something to show you that thank you for your fans." And I'm like, "BS, BS. That is the biggest tease I've ever heard." in my life. And
Yeah.
Natasha Lou Bordiso as Sabine Wren. Hopefully she makes Tia Sakar proud. Iman Esfandi, if that's the case, because the trades released it yesterday before D23 as him playing Ezra Bridger. If that's the case, then congrats, welcome aboard. Hopefully you make Taylor Gray proud. And I think Rosario, just from the few minutes, the episode and a half that we've gotten out of her from Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I can't wait to see her stretch out this character more and see what does this mean to her now. Because not only she's searching for Ezra, she's hunting down Thrawn. And nobody was casted for Thrawn yet in live action. Fingers crossed for me, that's still Lars Mikkelsen.
Yeah, amen.
And we'll leave it at that, and we'll wrap things up right now with The Mandalorian, which was the main thing besides Tales of the Jedi that got footage. That again, we've already seen a lot of that footage, Laura and I. But now the world gets to see what we've been having in our minds for 2, 3, 4 months now, and I'm calling it now. If, like I said, if season 1 and 2, mainly season 1 was Lone Wolf and Cub meets Star Wars, and season 2 was expanding that to the rest of Star Wars history, I think the route that Mando might go is full on Braveheart, where it's like he just wants peace, he wants to remain honor, but then something's going to pull him to the fight, and that's going to lead to the revolution of Mandalore, and that's going to hopefully bleed into this big crossover thing that they've subtly hinted at. Kathleen Kennedy and Favreau and Filoni have hinted at, but they haven't touched on since. But are we happy to see that officially again, Laura? All that footage that we already seen, because now we can tell people, what does this mean? We thought this for months now, but what do you think it means?
Yeah, I'm excited that this is available now. I think that we still saw more footage than what has been released, because I feel like whatever we saw, it was closer to like 3 minutes long. This trailer is only about 1:50. But a lot of the stuff that we saw at Star Wars Celebration is now in this trailer. So that, the drop ship that has the Mandalorians like Bo-Katan in it, and then they're jetpacking and skydiving, like that footage was showed at Celebration. And I was just like, I can't describe what I just saw. There's so much Bo-Katan footage in what we saw at Celebration. I was so excited. And I love that everybody else now gets to like revel in that. And I've seen some clips of them. Yes. I'm like, oh, it's just, I love that we're getting more of her. And I'm sort of hoping that this new season, I don't want to say I want it to like deviate from its formula, because I kind of don't mind like mission of the week formula that the Mandalorian has taken on since it premiered. But it kind of seems like we're maybe gearing a little bit more towards like, well, now we've got a different goal. Now the goal isn't like get the kid back to his people, get the kid to the Jedi. Now we've got a new goal of like, let's figure out what's going on with Mandalore. And I'll be kind of curious to see how that plays in to the sort of formula that's been laid down as the foundation of this show, and if they do kind of continue to stay the course with that. But if they do, I think that's great. If they don't and they go in a different direction, that's cool too. I've been very happy with what they've done with The Mandalorian. I kind of have no notes. So I'm like, do what you want to do, and I will sit and watch happily. So that's where I land with it. How about you?
I agree. I mean, to me, the one element that I've been sort of hoping that they brought to this saga, if you will, I'm calling it the Filoni Favreau saga, where it's like you have the 2 seasons of Mandalorian, you have the Book of Boba Fett, and then you have everything that's going to be coming out of it soon that could connect to it. I, from the get-go, have said that something that unique could be brought on is Crimson Dawn that was introduced to Solo, and I've been saying that like Emilia Clarke can still rock a performance out of a television series. I feel that crime element can be fresh for people who aren't familiar, and those of us who are familiar, it could be enriching and be that idea that Favreau and Filoni have said that like if you don't know what it is, it's just another cool Star Wars thing. But if you do know what it is, you get a gold star for watching and following us for all this time. And yeah, I mean, apart from you could watch the trailer and make up your own stuff, but to me, I think all these shows will cross over to this big event, maybe a miniseries, maybe a movie. I don't know yet, but I do think that, and I've been saying that if the First Order is going to strike the galaxy in 30 years, what if there's a pre-strike, like it's avoided, but doesn't stall what's about to come? And I thought of it sort of like Project Valkyrie, what they try to do with Hitler and the Nazis back in World War II. And I think, and you can tell me if I'm crazy or I'm out of it, that the first wave of attack from the dark side, from the remnants of the Empire, will be Thrawn. It'll be Thrawn, be like, we're gonna take back the galaxy, and we're gonna do this way. And it's maybe Leia and Han and Luke won't be that involved. Hopefully, at least Luke and Leia, they'll be like, well, we have this ragtag team of Mandalorians, of old Clone Wars veterans and whatnot, and they'll do this for us the way, sort of the same way that Clone Wars was. You know, Revenge of the Sith was going down in this parallel way, and Clone Wars was going down this way. They were still happening at the same time, but just different sides from different points of the galaxy were occurring. And I think that's what's going to happen. That, you know, whether the cult of the Children of the Watch will come to terms with Bo's beliefs, will we settle on a new Mandalore to rule, and will they defend the galaxy again? Who knows? I might be crazy, but that to me that seems like a logical thing to do, and I would buy it. Between the 30 years of peace, which is another thing that I hope they don't leave behind, that they don't separate from the formula, that these X-wing pilots are just visiting these planets and saying, yo, these incidents are reoccurring coincidentally. This can't be a coincidence. Something is cooking up that people in the core worlds aren't involved, and we have to get ahead of it before it, you know, bites us in the ass. What do you think, Laura? Am I crazy, or is this is plausible?
I don't think you're crazy, and I think really when it comes to Thrawn, anything's kind of possible because we just are in a completely different, I don't want to say like universe, but like kind of a different universe when it comes to Thrawn. And what I think I'm most curious about is whether or not they're going to sort of take any sort of inspiration from the canon Thrawn trilogies that we have so far, or if they're just going to kind of, you know, obviously we're going to be on a different timeline from the two trilogies, but if they're going to sort of take any of that, because what they seem to be laying the foundation of, at least in that like latter Thrawn trilogy, you know, the first one that we got actually, but it's later in the timeline than the one that just finished, is that what's happening in the galaxy, in the out in the, you know, far reaches and wild space, whatever you want to call it,
Unknown regions, yeah,
unknown regions, is there's something bigger happening than what's happening in like the core worlds, and what's happening with the Empire, and what's happening with the First Order. But then, you know, when we kind of took the First Order and all of the Palpatine stuff and brought that out into the unknown regions, I'm like, well, maybe that's where those two things are going to connect. I don't know. But they seem to sort of be hinting at in those Thrawn books that like there's another battle happening out here, and Thrawn's heading back out to go address that. And now he's got Ezra with him too. And I kind of wonder if like maybe there's going to be some sort of like teaming up that happens, and like that's the deal. And Thrawn's like, well, once you help me with this, I'll take you back out to the core worlds and you can go do your thing. But if like Hera and Sabine and Ahsoka come find him and they're like, yeah, we gotta go, and he's like, no, but I gotta go do this thing, and they're like, yo, this dude's like basically responsible for Kanan's death, like, can you just acknowledge that and come with us? Like, that'd be great. Like, so I don't know how much you really want to relate Thrawn to Kanan. Like it's sort of connected in some way, but also not. So I don't know. But I have all kinds of like sort of wild string theories of like where it's gonna go. Yeah. But I think the cool thing with Thrawn is that like they really could go in a completely different like we could take the story in a totally different route, just totally away from the Skywalker saga. Like the way that the sort of High Republic has like stepped back and isn't addressing any of the Skywalker saga stuff at all. Like you could do that with Thrawn and just go in a completely different direction from the core stories and from the movie trilogies and all of that. That would be a pretty bold move, and so I'm not totally sure if they would go that route, but there's an opportunity there, I think. I don't know.
Bold move, Cotton. It's a bold move.
Yep.
You said it best. And that'll do it for this episode of the podcast. Hopefully come London next year, which hopefully I see you there. We will get more news, and we'll see what is all of this leading up to, because that's sort of the juice, the fun of it all. That it's cool to see the episodes and the shows it's cooler to see people react to it and see what they all think about it, and then know that something big is playing out that we have just small increments of knowledge about. But until that time, Laura, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I really mean that, and it was such an honor to talk to you. But plug yourself. Where can people find you in this world wide web?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Ronan. This was really fun. It was nice to be able to like sit in and like kind of decompress and go through all of these amazing announcements we got today, like right off the bat. Like we're getting raw reactions here. Okay. So if you want to come find me on Twitter, my handle is at @shutup_Laura. I am at the same handle on Instagram, though I'm much more active on Twitter in general. The show that I host with my friend Alice is called Force Toast, a Star Wars happy hour. And she and I just drink wine and talk about Star Wars in general. And then the show that I host with John Roca on his YouTube channel is called The Jedi Way. So look for new episodes of that, hopefully coming soon now that he's sort of on the road to recovery from COVID. We're hoping we can be back soon and recording some new episodes and talking more about Star Wars, probably talking about some D23 stuff. Fingers crossed next week.
May the Yalo recover ASAP as well from my part. To everyone who bothered watching this, thank you so much. And till next time, may the Force be with you.